If you're thinking of establishing a trust, but you are wondering if a domestic or a foreign entity is a better choice, in today's video we will talk about the pros and cons for each. Hi, my name is Tiana, and I am a strategy associate here at Nomad Capitalist. We help 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs go where they're treated best by creating and implementing plans to reduce their tax bills, diversify and protect their assets, become global citizens, and maximize their freedom. So at the moment, we're finalizing the organization of our next Nomad Capitalist live event. So if you would want to be the first to know where the location will be and all the details about it, you can subscribe and be on the wait list to know all the details on our website. So when we're talking about the domestic and foreign trusts, first thing to do is to define what a domestic trust is and what a foreign asset protection trust is. So the domestic one is set up in a state where the asset protection laws are stronger than, let's say, some places like California. There are a few options for this, but our typical destination for Californians, and arguably the strongest overall, is the state of Nevada. A foreign asset protection trust is set up in another country entirely. There are a few options for this as well, and several countries have deliberately made themselves havens for foreign asset protection. The oldest and strongest one of these is definitely the Cook Islands, and this is where we recommend our clients look to set up a foreign asset protection trust. So the first thing we can discuss is the actual cost. How much more expensive is it to go offshore than doing a domestic trust? So this amount will vary depending on your precise circumstances, but a foreign asset protection trust will usually cost well into the tens of thousands of dollars to initially establish, and then thousands more every year to maintain. A domestic trust can usually be set up for an amount in the thousands and maintained for less as well. A large part of the cost will consist of the additional regulatory hurdles that you will have to go through if you do set up a foreign asset protection trust. Setting up this trust is legal, but many people who move their assets offshore do so for more nefarious purposes. So if you do create one, the federal government will keep a very close eye on you. In particular, the IRS will want to make sure you're not using the trust for tax evasion, of course. As a result, you will have to fill out a series of rather complex forms in order to keep a foreign trust, most notably IRS forms like 3520, 3520A. They are very strict when it comes to these matters, so you will need to fill out these forms properly with absolutely no errors. In order to maintain the foreign trust, you must keep exceedingly careful records and hire a reputable accountant as well. So cost-wise and filing requirements, domestic trust is a better choice. The second thing we'll talk about is a legal precedent. Perhaps surprisingly, foreign asset protection trusts are actually older than the domestic ones. And the Cook Islands International Trust Act, which is the law allowing for the creation of the foreign trust in the island, was originally passed back in 1988, although it has been amended a few times since. A domestic trust has a much shorter history, and a first state to permit this was actually Alaska in 1997, and in Nevada it was 1999. So some people might assume that newer is better, but in the legal world, the opposite is actually the case. Older laws are generally more secure, and this is because in our legal system, judges take into account not just the relevant legal statutes, but also the case law written by previous judges in relevant cases. Because foreign trusts have been around for longer, the case law recognizing them as legitimate is fairly strong. The legal precedent for the domestic trust exists, but it is somewhat weaker, and there are some unsolved questions. One question like that is when it comes to the jurisdiction. If you live in one state, but you do have a trust in another state, which state's law will apply? So in this case, of course, there would be a deeper analysis in case of a legal action being taken. So this is something that has not been definitely answered. So would this mean that a domestic trust is worthless? We can probably argue that that is not the case. More is left to chance with a domestic trust than with a foreign trust, and that is a factor to take into account. So legally speaking, foreign trust is better, since from that point of view, older laws have greater impact. Third thing we can discuss is the actual privacy. So let's take Cook Islands as an example. They do offer a significant level of privacy to individuals who are wishing to set up a trust. And the government of the Cook Islands only keeps records of the name of the trust and the trustee. It doesn't keep any records of the settlors or beneficiaries of the trust, which means that your name will not be anywhere. Not only that, but the records the government does keep are private, and it is extremely difficult to obtain them. The Cook Islands do not recognize subpoenas issued by American courts, so a creditor would have to go to the islands physically and navigate their legal system to get any records. You will not get this level of privacy from any domestic trust. And all trusts created within the United States will fall under the jurisdiction of the federal government. So your trust will have no more privacy than it would if it was set up in California. Foreign trusts do offer more privacy, so that would be the conclusion on this part, that the foreign is better than domestic. Then we have the fraudulent transfer protection. One of the most important issues in creating a strong asset protection trust involves guarding against claims or fraudulent transfer. The fraudulent transfer involves making yourself insolvent or appearing to do so with the intention of avoiding a specific debt. Needless to say, there are a lot of ways in which asset protection trusts can run afoul of this. There are several factors, but one of the most important is timing. If you move your assets close to when you're incurred a specific debt, your transfer is more likely to be considered fraudulent. Other factors include how much you transferred and received in return for your transfer, to whom you transferred the assets, and how transparent you were in your dealings with the court. The Cook Islands do not recognize judgment rendered by foreign courts, including those of the United States. To obtain a judgment against the Cook Islands Trust, a creditor must actually file a claim in the islands. There are a few obvious costs of doing so, and including having to travel all the way to the South Pacific and actually hire a local lawyer. On top of this, there are additional procedures that would need to take place. So the Cook Islands does not allow for an attorney to be hired on a contingency fee agreement, meaning that a plaintiff will only have to pay all of their legal costs out of pocket and upfront. There is an extremely short statute of limitations in the Cook Islands for fraudulent transfer claims. They must be filed within 1 year of the transfer and within 2 years of the cause of action is rising. The claimant must prove intent to defraud, and the claimant must prove their claim beyond a reasonable doubt. This is an extremely high legal standard, much higher than in most civil matters. Like, let's say in Nevada, the trust did not proffer this level of protection. When you create a trust in the United States, then it will be subject to judgments rendered by American courts, no matter the state. Here in Cook Islands, everything falls under the umbrella of the federal government, and the plaintiff will not have to fly far away and hire a new lawyer in order to obtain a judgment against you. That said, Nevada trusts do offer a couple of significant protections against fraudulent transfer. There is a very short statute of limitations in Nevada as well. Claimants must file a petition within 2 years with a tolling period of 6 months from when they find out about the transfer. The standard of proof for fraudulent transfer is clear and convincing evidence. This is lower than beyond a reasonable doubt, but still a good deal higher than in most other jurisdictions. So both trusts have protection against fraudulent transfer, but the stronger one is quite clear. Foreign trusts are the ones that offer for a stronger protection against fraudulent transfer claims. And one other thing we would need to talk about is dissuasion. If done properly, asset protection should make creditors less likely to sue you. And if they do sue you, it should make them more likely to settle for a smaller amount and earlier on. Since foreign trusts have so many more procedural hurdles than the domestic ones, it should come as no surprise that they offer more dissuasive power. But again, the domestic trusts are not completely toothless in this case either. However, the foreign trust will provide stronger protection from dissuasion. So in conclusion here, a foreign trust is a better option. However, it does carry a higher cost and as well as additional filing requirements. It is good for asset protection, but in no way can it help in reducing or hiding your tax liability from the United States. If you are solely interested in asset protection, foreign trust is always a better choice. However, if all you want is to reduce tax and for these state purposes, while not planning to renounce your U.S. citizenship, a domestic trust will not cover this role. I hope this information has helped you, and it might be pushing you towards one or the other when it comes to creating your trust. If you would like to know more about the trusts and the domestic and the foreign ones, you can visit our webpage, nomadcapitalist.com, and if you want us to help you with this, you can hit the apply button. Thank you for watching.